It is Sunday the 10th of February 2019, and I'm in front of SPVM PDQ11. That's Poste de Quartier 11 in NDG, and I'm protesting against Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse, Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse cover-up and denial, and also the fact that the Unitarian Universalist Church, more particularly the Unitarian Church Montreal, and even more particularly Sue Montgomery, have been able to suppress my protest in front of the Unitarian Church Montreal by bringing what I consider to be false criminal charges against me, false criminal accusations against me, placing conditions on me that prohibit me from being at the Unitarian Church of Montreal to protest. I will say that the most recent conditions, which were imposed on September 6th of 2018, they do include the Unitarian Church of Montreal in the conditions. It had been removed, but it was put in again thanks to Sue Montgomery's interference, shall we say. According to my lawyer, I actually do have the right to protest in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, even though the Unitarian Church of Montreal is clearly named in the conditions. He repeatedly told me that the prosecutor managing the prosecution told him that I could protest in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, that it was not prohibited, but it's absolutely not clear. There was a change in the prosecutor recently. Apparently the original prosecutor, Mr. Roos, if I remember, Hugo Roos, if I remember his name correctly, apparently he's on sick leave, and another prosecutor has taken over the case. By the way, the case is alleged criminal harassment against Sue Montgomery, which I have no reason to believe I'm guilty of, but this allows her to place court conditions on me that prevent me from protesting in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, or at least try to, and also prevent me from doing other things such as asking questions at city council meetings. I think I have every right to ask questions about Sue Montgomery's unethical behavior and abuse of power at Montreal City Council meetings and Notre-Dame-de-Grâce Côte-des-Neiges City Council meetings, but the conditions prevent me from being at City Council meetings. I will say that, again, this provision, which was at the beginning, was removed. My lawyer was able to get that provision taken right out, as well as the provision about the Unitarian Church of Montreal. That was also taken right out on February 19th last year, so almost a year ago. But Sue Montgomery managed to get these conditions put back in one way or another by bringing additional, what I consider to be false charges against me. So here I am. My rights are suppressed as a result of Sue Montgomery making what I consider to be highly misleading, outright false statements to the police, and the police acting upon these false accusations, even though if the police did a proper investigation, which they did not do, I think they would have quickly discovered that there were actually no grounds to arrest me in the first place. So basically I'm protesting here because I can't protest with any certainty in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal in terms of not being arrested again. You know, I could potentially go and protest in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal and basically be okay, but it's not certain. There's an air of uncertainty, and because of that I said, well, it's safer for me to come here in front of PDQ11 and protest here, where I have less chance of being arrested. Okay, the Station 11 car just drove by. So that's it. Really, you know, I have to say that I'm basically protesting SPVM police harassment and police intimidation as well. And this is not the first time that I've been arrested by PDQ11 police officers on bogus criminal charges. and it's not the first time that PDQ 11 officers have, one way or another, tried to suppress my peaceful public protest against clergy abuse in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal. Oops, I'm just noticing. Okay, I had the sign backwards. That's annoying. I thought I had it right, but no. But since I actually did this, so this is what one of the things I'm protesting is the fact that the Unitarian Universalist Association has falsely accused me of violating Canada's blasphemy law in legal bullying that's intended to intimidate me into removing blog posts and tell the truth about pedophilia and rape committed by Unitarian Universalist ministers, not to mention Unitarian Universalist Sunday school teachers and ordinary lay people. But I will turn this around because the other side here, this is an old sign from when I protested against Crown prosecutors essentially not respecting charter rights and freedoms. So this older picket sign, which I haven't really displayed in a long time, is quite pertinent. I think I might actually retape it so it can be read. But Crown prosecutors, Quebec Crown prosecutors, by acting on highly questionable and even outright false accusations brought against me by Montreal Unitarians, have basically interfered with my ability to practice my charter rights and freedoms. So unfortunately, I thought the correct slogan had been displayed, but apparently it wasn't. So these things happen. But this sign, Quebec Crown prosecutors undermine charter rights and freedoms. And you may notice the past tense there. This was displayed when Quebec Crown prosecutors went on strike some years ago. Oh, thank you. No worries, no worries. I think that's the second time in 20 years. No, don't worry, it's not a problem. Dog just peed on the snowbank. It may or may not have peed on my bag of picket signs. But if it did pee on my picket signs, that's the second time in more than 20 years that a dog's peed on my picket signs. So it's pretty low hit rate. But anyway, getting back to the Crown prosecutors. It's one thing for SPVM police officers to have me arrested on bogus criminal charges. It's another thing for Quebec Crown prosecutors to act on those, false charges. The Quebec Crown prosecutor's job is to try to determine if the charges are worth pursuing or not. And unfortunately, in the past, on at least one occasion, the Quebec Crown prosecutors acted on a complaint that was completely and utterly false, and there was no hope of actually obtaining a conviction. And in fact, I was acquitted when the Crown prosecutor couldn't prove a single one of the 4 or 5 points of law that he had to prove beyond reasonable doubt to obtain a conviction. So basically, spent a fair bit of time in court, spread over 3 years, fighting a criminal charge that was completely baseless, that had no validity. Thanks to SPVM cops acting on a bullshit complaint brought against me by Montreal Unitarians. And unfortunately, then that ridiculous charge being brought against me by the Crown prosecutor when it should have just been brushed off. So basically quite a lot of police interference in my charter rights and freedoms, in my ability to speak out against Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse and Unitarian Universalist cover-up and denial of clergy abuse. And since my ability to protest in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal is open to some question right now, and I don't particularly want to risk another arrest for no reason, I'm protesting here. And I think I will probably protest here again. I'm just going to check the camera to see if the video is still running, because the conditions are quite cold, and yeah, we're still recording. So that's been almost 10 minutes. So I'm going to get out another sign here. Okay, so we have a couple of other signs here, and the one on the right says Unitarian Universalist lawyers bear false witness against me. And this is absolutely true. Unfortunately, various Unitarian Universalists, including Sue Montgomery, have outright lied about me in their efforts to try to discredit me, try to get my protest in front of the church shut down, and so on. Unitarian Universalist perversion of justice sucks you, asterisk you. Well, there's no question that Montreal Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists more generally, including top-level leaders of the Unitarian Universalist Church in Boston, have actually sought to pervert the course of justice. In fact, there can be no more shameful attempt to pervert the course of justice than the Unitarian Universalist Association's false accusation of blasphemous libel against me, which bore false witness against me. They falsely accused me of making unfounded and vicious allegations to the effect that ministers of the Unitarian Universalist Association engage in such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape. They claimed that these allegedly unfounded and vicious allegations were so defamatory that they constituted the criminal act of blasphemous libel against the Unitarian Universalist religion. Well, guess what? My blog posts about such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape committed by Reverend Mac Wallace Mitchell and Richard Buell of First Parish Norwell were by no means unfounded. They were very, very truthful accusations based on publicly available information that was quite reliable, such as newspaper reports about the fact that both Reverend Mac Wallace Mitchell and First Parish Norwell parishioner Richard Buell had been charged, tried, and convicted of either pedophilia or rape or a combination of both, and had been sentenced to jail terms. So there was nothing remotely unfounded about my allegations, and even if there had been, even if my allegations had been false, which was not the case, they would not constitute blasphemous libel against the church. One of the most ironic aspects of the Unitarian Universalist Association's false blasphemous libel accusation against me is that when you blaspheme against a religion, you're essentially attacking what the religion holds to be sacred and holy. So by falsely accusing me of blaspheming against the Unitarian Universalist Church because I criticized such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape committed by certain Unitarian Universalist ministers, essentially the Unitarian Universalist Association unwittingly deemed pedophilia and rape to be sacred and holy to Unitarian Universalism. This is a very foolish thing to do, and I've had quite a bit of fun with that. Yeah, since we're talking about Sue Montgomery, since Sue Montgomery is a major part of the problem right now, I will display this sign here. I'll just read it out here. Helpless children have been raped by Unitarian Universalist ministers and Sunday school teachers, but the Gazette's retired justice reporter, Sue Montgomery, never reported the UUA's misuse of blasphemy law in clergy abuse cover-up legal bullying. Absolutely 100% truthful statement. This picket sign was made back in 2014 when Sue was the Gazette's justice reporter, and I had previously asked Sue Montgomery to report on Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse issues even before the Unitarian Universalist Association falsely accused me of blasphemous libel. But in 2012, after the Unitarian Universalist Association had in fact falsely accused me of violating Canada's blasphemy law in a cease and desist demand letter drawn up by Stikeman Elliott Barristers, a solicitor's litigation lawyer, Maitre Marc-André Coulombe, I brought it to Sue Montgomery's attention in her capacity as the Gazette's justice reporter that the Unitarian Universalist Church was falsely accusing me of violating Canada's blasphemy law in legal bullying intended to conceal pedophilia and rape. And I asked her to report on that story. Well, of course she didn't. But it gets worse than that, because from what I can tell, based on various forms of circumstantial evidence, Sue Montgomery not only refused to report the story herself, but she used her influence within the Gazette and also within the larger journalistic community to ensure that nobody else reported that story either. So essentially, as far as I'm concerned, Sue Montgomery is not only passively complicit in the sense of complicit silence, in the sense of not speaking out against Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse, but she is an active participant in helping the Unitarian Universalist Church cover up and hide clergy abuse by refusing to report about it, by making it, basically dissuading other reporters from reporting on it, by even feeding misleading misinformation to other reporters. There's evidence, quite strong evidence, that Sue Montgomery lied to other Montreal reporters, essentially telling them that she had personally looked into my allegations about clergy abuse and clergy abuse cover-up and had determined that there was nothing there. So she told this to other reporters, when in fact, if anyone responsibly investigates what I'm saying about Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse and attempted cover-up thereof, everything is very truthful and supported by evidence. So Sue Montgomery, this wasn't good enough for her. She then, very soon after getting her, it's all right, you can go walk through if you want. Soon after being elected as the mayor of NDG, and about a month, almost exactly a month after being elected as the mayor of NDG, Côte-des-Neiges, and within a week or so of being appointed as the deputy mayor of Montreal by Valerie Plante, Sue Montgomery filed a police complaint against me, accusing me of criminal harassment. What is my alleged criminal harassment? Well, essentially it comes down to engaging in peaceful public protest outside